Hi, Yazong. I'm Zhezhong, president of Hmong American Ink Stories. Thank you for tuning in to this online launch of the second issue of Hi, a Literary Journal. First, I'd like to give a few words of thanks. Thank you to the editorial team for all their hard work. Li Li, Ye Li, Mai Ying Lor, Gao Yong Yang Vang, Toning Vang. Also, thanks to Jefferson Beavers and our advisor, Mai Der Vang, for all their guidance. Thank you to Denise Piercy at the print shop. Thank you to the contributors for their voices, their art, and their stories. Last but not least, thank you, the general public, for your interest of our journal. We appreciate all your support. To get a copy of the journal, please follow us on social media and check out our website. We are finalizing some solutions and hope to get the journals into your hands soon. The Hmong word hai means to say or to speak or to verbalize. This is the essence of this journal. We are not invisible and we refuse to be omitted. We exist and today we speak. We did not ask for a specific theme when we put out the call for submissions for this issue. We didn't know what to expect at the tail end of 2020, so we left it open. Last year, the inaugural issue came into existence at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, before many of us could recognize its long-lasting, staggering consequences. Accompanying the pandemic was the eruption of many issues that this country for so long has refused to reckon with. The devastating injustices, losses, and isolations are difficult to face and address, especially as we continue to live through them. So, to create anything at all is tremendous. To express yourself in these painful times is to survive. Some of the works in this issue address aspects that have rose to mainstream consciousness in 2020, like Asian-Black solidarity and anti-Asian racism. Some of the works deal with grief and separation. Some deal with shifting identities. Some are rally cries. Some are tender and bring respite. Whatever it is, these are genuine and urgent voices. Please enjoy.
My name is Andrea Marin. My poem is Overkill. Hours slip through my body, run down my spine. They stop at my stomach and camped out, waiting for me to use them. If I fail, they throw acid on my intestines and warning signs to my mind. No, she can, she's drowning. I'm drowning. Acid going up and down my esophagus. My worries form bubbles around me. They burst every time I walk away from my desk. They burst and spill more, crawl down my thighs. Little ants running up and down. But I don't move. I can't. Venom paralyzes me, sedates me. Immobilized but aware of every hour running down my body until they leave my feet. Milliseconds of relief until the next hour clocks in, ready for this shift.
Ancestor worship. Mom calls Thai to ask her what to bring Nyapa when she goes and visits. Thai says that she likes Pepsi, white peaches, to bring her some warm rice and meat to eat. I listen to this phone call they have in Hmong, ears always open but eyes focused on work. Mom tells Thai she saw Nyapa in a dream, where we moved back to Minnesota and browsed the lanes of the Frogtown Market. Mom was confused and wondered why Nyapa was at the market when she was so old and frail. Kunyaka, Nyapa tells her, and Mom tells her that she misses her, too. That's all that I hear before my heart aches and my mouth frowns. After the phone call, Mom turns to me and says, they buried her so far, all the way in Mountain Shadow Cemetery located in Sonora. She wanted to go back to Laos, and I hear all the unsaid history in those words.
The commonplace Kraken exhibit. Do not tap glass. Some say the world will end in tire fires. Some say ice. Some say tachyons. Some say a million fungal spore spires. Some say an abrupt absence of rice. Some say a siege of robotic eidolons, or a really bad bout of gout. But water is always with us. I am already 90% water, and I'm walking towards you, naked and wet. I'm walking across tiles of blue and white, cold as dead penguins. Recesses of the deep unleashed in my veins, arms stretched wide and palms flooded. I come, and I come, and I come for you. The sea shall give up its dead. For Logan, 1986 through 2009. Call off the dredgers and divers. Draw up the nets. Pull all the boats ashore. Set them on fire. Drain the lakes, ponds, and swamps. Let the rivers run dry. Break all the dams and aqueducts. Bust all the pipes. Shatter all the bathtubs and toilets. Scatter their bones. Don't auger amidst the shards. Don't trace them with your fingers. Don't leave your blood behind. It's too late for all that. Throw out the kitchen sink. Let it fall from the rooftop. Our dead aren't where we left them. The drowned ones, the ones who bled out, the strangled ones we hid in the depths. We kept putting them back each time they strayed. Prodded them with platitude, cajoled them with chub. But they're gone now. At dawn we looked them up. Each one was missing. The whole sopping parade. It has been too much always, not waving but crowning. Baby head stretching, the vaginal opening, not waving but crowning. A blue whale surfacing to take a breath, not waving but crowning. Nobody heard them, our wet dead, but now they're trombone overblowing. We kept them too far out always. Now they're here in our faces. The face of a coworker stocking shelves, a face deep in a hoodie on the light rail, the face of a child climbing up a slide, donut in his mouth, the face of a guy smoking while pumping gas, the faces of endless conference attendees, one after another baristas and plumbers, the faces of our history teachers who tell us only the young don't believe in ghosts. They haven't lived long enough to understand how memory and death stand hand in hand. We understand now. We've lived too long. We've ceased to believe in the living and see the dead everywhere. The wet dead are the worst. We see them in mirrors, feel them in our own skins, soused. The saggy beleaguered meat of us stumbles, as if we've just been fished up, bloated and corpulent, cold to the touch, soggy in our brains and mouths. Corroded bones, corroded veins, our limbs flap about in the sun like contorted tubers of slush and stone. Feet twined and barnacled, we shuffle and fall down. The water swallows us like trout, lifts us, opens us, and rinses us out. In silence, they grasp and pull at us, like we're pinball shooters. They guide us at night to where the Nisqually empties into the sound and beckon us in. The wind is up, but the sky is clear. The water spreads out, a wrinkled tarp with bits of white where ice cream is spilled, inviting us to join the waves as the moon shines on. There is movement at the shore. Emergency workers crowd around us so no one will see our bodies. They circle us in their large, dark coats and walk us where the wet dead go.
This is Ermelinda Hernandez, reading on the low key. The evening creeps under my sheets, sucking into my nipples, and I embrace the warm breath brushing against my breast and breathing into my chest. I am not okay. I'm simply madly insane and trying to cope with things I don't understand. I shed my skin like a snake sensing its end. And I love how I don't have to pretend to be okay or high on smileys or rush against the voices raging in my brain. The curtains fall like music notes on a high-low, and shards of light take refuge inside the windows. But my eyes only swallow what's inside, and what's inside spreads like sheets of ice on fire.
This poem is called Void. My voice no longer sounds the same. In silence it seeks asylum. It whispers, come back to me. I wish to breathe and never set you free. Taste, sweet taste of death under my tongue. Rage rages all night. I feel you within the wombs of my fists. It swells as big as the moon. These tears never dry. I've lived and lived without your touch. Sometimes I think I brought you back. Sometimes I scream. Nothing comes. Nothing comes. Nothing does. The dark swallows with no mercy. Memories of you and I drown in dreams I no longer recall. The light, once so kind, disappears in stillnesses of blue lights. I choke under this breath. You no longer exist. It penetrates deep in my soul. It eats me alive.
Blooming Lineage, in memory of Balmore. I can believe that nothing has changed if I do not move. Let my partner spiral into the kitchen and turn the stove knob. Listen to the pan sizzle as the eggs drop inside, sliding from the tilted coil, crinkling in its orbit. The dog lies by his feet, awaiting with ears pulled down a docile plea. Sunlight sparkles off the line of parked cars into the living room. The sky is clear and blue as peak spring demands. The nearby highway hushes in its course without hindrance. I close my eyes and memorialize this pretty morning in your wake. There are many posts recalling and piecing you in the internet space. A collage of father, husband, teacher, mentor, poet, dear friend, but I can't say your name yet. I'm not ready to declare this new day. We gather at a downtown gallery in your city of Merced, and I am nervous. I do not know you nor most of the other readers. Your friends put the event together to celebrate your life and the next generation of writers like me. They tell me of your cancer diagnosis. I carry only 2 poems, one finished in a draft that I rewrite over and over and over until the last minute when I am called to the podium. It's titled Fate Papers, and I cry through the lines. In another lifetime, we played together as brother and sisters. In this lifetime, I travel to find you, a nomad searching for a family with the same force in their tongues. It is sentimental and wholly inadequate in English, but in Hmong I believe they reached you. After the reading, we meet and you are delighted. You are so proud of me already, and I have never been more grateful to drive 3 hours to be found here with you and our friends. After all these lone years, I am finally home. I try to compose beautiful lines for you, but nothing comes out except furious scribbles. How dare the sun spotlight your absence, the nerve of light to keep. How awful time stomps on. I want to rip it apart. How dare it? How dare this fate, this devastation. All of it is ugly because I am wrecked. I wept for weeks and still can't write a worthy farewell. We are descendants of a fragmented heritage, and this parting adds to our diaspora. We have only just begun a revived written tradition, our own narratives rising. This orphan one sought you for so long. What bittersweet papers. Our last meeting is at a small conference, though I don't know that yet, and you read from your second book, the one where you allowed my poem to be printed alongside yours and other Hmong writers. I have 3 copies, one inscribed for me, one for my family, and one extra just to have. It's a collection of your works, including poems from your first book published in 2002 that is now out of print. You speak with unintentional vibrato and clear your throat often, but I attribute it to the colder weather. I am an optimist or willfully ignorant. Your energy is still the same, kind and warm, so I still believe. We stand outside, shaded by a gentle shedding tree, and 2 of our writer friends join us. We form a circle, reminisce and verbalize hopes to reunite in the near future. You point to the hearing aid and say it's a current development. We speak a little louder just in case. Then you turn to me and say something important. I know it is, though I can't recall it. Your urgent, earnest voice. Jer, I'm so inspired by you, who is our literary voice beyond the days of evening blossoms and early sunrises. You tell me to write what's in my heart, sorrows and joys all together, and you believe in me. Grandfather of Hmong American literature, Ba Moa, please know that a voice is not raised alone. It molds from you, ancestors. Your poetics are not lost, I hear them. This voice honors you as you have honored me.
Before my shift had even started that Sunday, I'd gotten a call from my assistant manager, Esther, to tell me about the task she wanted me to take care of while I was at work, and also to remind me that corporate recently decided that we had to sanitize the counters and doors every 30 minutes. Yo ya me voy, Ali. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Oh yeah, you're going on vacation, huh? I asked, pretending not to remember that she had plans to go to Las Vegas. Yeah, so I'm going to leave early today. It was rare for Esther to leave early. Most of the time when that happened, it usually meant she had to go check on her dad. Esther and I played a similar role with our parents. Where she spent her days off from work taking care of her elderly father, I spent mine driving my mom wherever she needed to go. Around this time, I was also trying to convince my mom to stop working in case things got worse with COVID-19. And although I didn't mention it, I wondered if Esther had thought about how this trip might affect her dad. I decided to bite my tongue and listen as she explained the plan to head out to Vegas the next day. The way the conversation went, you'd think the virus was something contained squarely within the confines of Chevron. With no one else around that Sunday afternoon, I had the chance to take note of the changes being made during these unprecedented times. The first thing I noticed was the lines of blue tape scattered around the store to measure the distance recommended for customers to keep from one another. I counted the steps as I walked along, stopping at around 4 feet before reaching the next marker, and then 5 steps on the following marker. Whoever had measured the 6 feet obviously did their best to guess the distance instead of actually measuring it out properly. As I wiped invisible stains off the counter and what was most likely my third trip around the store sanitizing everything, I kept looking back at the blue tape on the ground. It bothered me a lot more than I expected. When it came time to mop, I noticed that the tape was already beginning to peel off, and I gave them a harder scrub than needed to encourage it to peel off faster. Hopefully next time, I thought to myself, they'll actually measure the distance properly. After a few weeks, the tape was replaced with stickers in the shape of a circle with the words "Practice Social Distancing" written on them, encouraging the 6 feet distance. They looked a lot more official than the blue tape had. To be fair, a lot of things seemed more official as the months went on. Corporate had sent out reusable masks for everyone to wear while on the clock, so we no longer had to use bandanas. The signs posted up on the front door warned that no one was allowed inside without a mask, and they were posted next to the Fresno County ordinance that the business was complying with the rules set in place. And after every song played over the PA system, a commercial would play to remind customers to slow the spread and practice their social distancing. The commercial would play once in English, then after the next song in Spanish. Corporate had even made new shirts for us to wear. A black t-shirt with the phrase "I heart social distancing" on them on the front, and "Keep calm and wash your hands" on the back. That's corporate for you, I suppose. They gave us a tacky shirt and $2 extra on our paychecks as appreciation pay, but still refused to pay us after testing positive for COVID-19 and having to take time off. I personally would not believe that they were actually taking any of the precautions seriously until the steps between the new markers were evenly placed 6 feet apart. Instead, what I got was another tacky shirt with "Essential Worker Squad" written on the front, and the official markers remained randomly sprawled on the floor.
Hi, my name is Melinda Medeiros, and this is an excerpt from my essay, Flies All the Way Down. I shrug a fly off my shoulder and continue rototilling the path in front of me. A podcast on earphones blocks out most of the noise, the chewing up and spitting out of solid dirt, the whine of the small electric engine, or is it the pirouetting metal teeth making most of the racket? The fly lands again, shrug, and again. Is it one fly or a pair of them attacking me? I swat recklessly at my shoulder. I know this is a losing battle. I have little chance of defeating flies in open air. This is their territory. The common housefly, moscas if you grew up in a Portuguese household. As a child, I was told that flies came from the fall of man from the Garden of Eden. This is how I imagined that process. God was pissed that humans ate the apple from the forbidden tree, kicked them out of the garden, and sent tiny flying creatures to relentlessly harass us fallen humans while gardening or trying to enjoy picnics forever and ever. Amen. Punishment by 1,000 annoyances. Wikipedia doesn't mention the fall of man, but tells me flies are believed to have evolved in the Cenozoic era, possibly in the Middle East, and have spread all over the world as a commensal of humans. Flies are here because we humans have brought them along with us. They benefit from proximity to us while we reap no such benefits. Lack of reciprocity sours many relationships. The intruding fly flees as quickly as it arrived, but it's too late. I'm falling into my memories. The sun no longer pleasantly warms my skin, but roasts it. The fresh air vanishes, replaced by the stirred-up dust that finds my face, my throat, my eyes. I cough and pull the inside of my old t-shirt up to wipe away the mask of sweat and disturbed earth. When I drop the shirt and open my eyes, my garden boxes and purple Crocs have vanished. Instead, my toes stretch against rubber work boots, caked with mud and manure. My teenage fingers grip the handle of a bucket, heavy with the weight of dead birds. Flies dance frantically through the air around me. I am back on the turkey ranch where I grew up. What's the mortality like today? Is it my father or mother who asks? I hear the echo of both in my memory. mixed with curiosity and concern, but more likely my father if I'm standing outside of a turkey house waiting for a tractor to pull up a trailer in front of me, my dead body collecting chariot. I did houses 5 through 7. Jared's still finishing up the others. Not too bad. Not much more than a dozen. And one so old it's practically crispy. Must have been hiding out all week. I'd hop on the back of the flatbed trailer, heave the bucket up beside me. One hand would keep hold of its dull white plastic while the other gripped the trailer's rusty metal side. We wouldn't be going fast enough for me to fly off, but there are enough little hills and valleys around the barns to rob my bucket of its contents. Picking up dead was bad enough the first time around. The trick to doing it, picking up deceased fowl 30 pounds or under, is to try and grab a leg. The wrinkly skin above the feet is usually sparse, not much flesh or feathers to decompose or hide maggots, and a freshly deceased body would be just stiff enough to plop into the bucket without much mess or smell. It was the ones you missed for a few days that made you hate yourself. Between the heat and the flies and the cannibalistic curiosity of their peers, the ones you missed would give you reason enough to walk the entire length back to the barn's entrance to grab those gloves you forgot on the shelf. There were plenty of hazards that threatened our physical well-being. Long feed lines topped with electrified wires to prevent roosting, always easier to step over than walk around. Clogged metal augers hungry for unneeded fingertips, tractor tires looking to crush an arm or a leg, abandoned dead holes in the back field hidden by grass, wells of decomposed animal bodies turned to quicksand earth. My father had taught me how to avoid most of those things. Wear pants in the barns, use a tool and not your hands, no messing around on or near moving tractors. Don't even think about killing the engine before shifting to neutral and engaging the brake. And for God's sake, watch where you walk and you'll be fine. But he didn't teach me how to steer clear of the resentment that settled in, which tool to use to clear out the hopelessness and misery that grew when I shifted from owner's daughter, ignoring work conversations from an air-conditioned backseat, to the worker who never applied for the job. 2 generations working side by side in an industry they hated, in a place they didn't want to be, didn't make the job any easier. Past conversations about the misery of having no choice but to work on his own father's ranch fought for a chance to be thrown back in his face. But attacking a man already defeated by having to do what he said he'd never do would bring me no victory. It's not that he didn't want us to learn how to work. He just didn't want to make us feel like he had felt all those years ago, trapped. But he was doing what he could to help his family survive, just as his father had done, and a teenager could never guess that surviving the mire of ranch work would give her the confidence to work at nearly any job, that it would one day turn punching buttons on a register and dealing with unhappy retail customers into a luxury. Let's see. On the ranch, music was replaced with the grumble of the rusty red Massey Ferguson as it crawled from barn door to barn door. The slow ride was the easiest time of day, my mind free to wander out over the landscape, away from the smell of manure and turkey dander, to plan an escape from the work boots and dead buckets and circling flies. Really, most ranch work held space for daydreaming, for writing stories of different, better lives in my head. The bulk of daily tasks, cleaning waters, checking feed lines and levels, raking caked up shavings, could be done faster if we all split up and each covered a section. In most memories of working in the Central Valley summers, it is my dad, my little brother, and me, each of us with a tendency to retreat within, masters of smoothing our surfaces over a turmoil that only spilled out in occasional outbursts that threatened to drown us all. The turkeys talked more than we did. A subtle lurch and the whine of brakes reminds me to hop down and grab a bucket of dead birds, placed outside another barn door. 7 barns called houses, 1 brooder, and 6 grow-out houses. The grow-outs had 2 main entrances, front and back, each with a cement rectangle that hosted an iodine wash to prevent disease spread. The 100-yard barns made it nearly impossible to carry all of the dead throughout their length, unless it's a really good day. It's best to carry 2 buckets, cover 1/2 of the barn on the way to the back door, leave the full bucket outside, then make your way back to the front, filling up your remaining bucket. That one can be left outside the front entrance. Move to the next barn, grab 2 more empty buckets that should be sanitized and left by the front entrances, and repeat the process. The tractor snakes its way around my territory before picking up my brother and his spoils. I push each bucket a little further toward the heart of the flatbed, the safest spot on our mile-long voyage down the lane to the dead bin that sits to the side of the gated entrance near the road, where 2 Italian cypresses keep an eye on all who pass between them. My father whips the trailer around with effortless grace, the kind that can only come from decades of operating trucks and trailers. We slide into perfect alignment with the cold metal belly of the Tallow-Works dumpster. My brother and I jump up to empty our buckets into its gaping mouth. On good days, we'd be done in a minute. After a particularly intense heat wave or an inexplicable onset of illness, we might carefully inch our way around a full trailer for nearly half an hour. There would be no laughing or threats of pushing the other one in on those days. With empty buckets stacked, I plop down onto crossed legs, ready for the slow ride. I lean back on my arms to watch the sky melt from a stubborn blue to soft shades of orange and red behind the lonely oak across the fields. 2 hawks draw outlines in the dusk, circling the cottontails scurrying through the knee-length grass below. The breeze chases sleepy flies away. I close my eyes until I get dizzy. The smell of diesel fumes and eucalyptus leaves and the sway of the trailer carries me home again. Thank you.
When I was 17 years old, my family and I soon moved to Fresno, California, from Florida. I remembered stepping outside of the wintry air-conditioned Fresno airport and feeling, for the first time, the Central Valley dry heat instead of the sticky, moist heat that lingers on a person's skin. The air was not as clean, given by my nostrils, catching a whiff of the light fumes from the surrounding air, cleaning the swirling smoke from nearby burnt cigarettes. It was not long until the topic of my paternal grandfather was unexpectedly revived around me. Like a ghost, this nameless person had a way of turning heads in my direction. The elders would squint their beady eyes, point and tell me the eldest granddaughter, as she resembled her in various ways. Hearing this before, I had proudly taken these to be compliments. At the time, I was under the impression that what father had told me was the one and only universal truth, and that my paternal grandfather was a perfect military man during the Vietnam War and died for what he had believed in. Then during one large family gathering, a group of great aunts and uncles approached me because they had heard that I resembled my paternal grandfather in the way that I carried myself, my habits, and my overall nature. The elderly women had all fawned over me. However, the old men did not. Instead, one of the great uncles scrutinized me and spat out, "Your Yo was not a man." Another elderly man joined in, He may have fought in the Vietnam War, but your Ye did not have a spine at all. He would lend money out to people, and they would never pay him back. But he always believed them. The stupid person he was. At the time, it was as though these old uncles were speaking to the deceased grandfather himself. Even when they kept yelling, I was speechless and listened. Perhaps I simply wanted to learn more about this man who had always been presented as a perfect, silent, and nameless first lieutenant of the Vietnam War. Panicked, the great aunts hurried to shuffle the old man away from me. One of the elderly women cried out, "Ayah, he is dead now. What use is it to yell at his granddaughter? The person is dead, yet you all act like Ma knew what he was like when he was alive." Then seeing my shocked expression, another great aunt tried to assure me, "My oh my, your grandfather was a kind man. He was a bit dumb. He loved to help people, and that is good. However, your Ye was also taken advantage of due to that good heart of his. Because of that, your grandmother was always yelling at him. If he had not married such a fierce woman like Ayo, he would not have anyone to stand up to these swindlers, because he would not go after them himself."